If you take inventory of your life, you probably can imagine. If you take inventory of your life, you probably that there's been a lot of people that took advantage of and recognize your kindness. That there's been a lot of people that took advantage and just your presence, your kindness, and of your. Do you feel right now that just there are people that are taking advantage of you? Do you feel right now that even in the way that you're just taking advantage of you, or not comfortable with, even in the way that you're just more comfortable, not because of them necessarily, but because you've been potentially not because of them necessarily, and it's possible that even when you're not people pleasing, even when you're trying to and it's create boundaries, even when you're these people still see you in a certain type of way, or maybe they don't even see you a certain way. That these people still see you a certain type of way, or maybe they don't even see you a certain way. So there's a lot of different dynamics there. Maybe and all 3 or 4 of them actually. So there's a lot of different dynamics there. Can be valid. And all 3 or 4 of them actually can. Do you sometimes feel that others don't respect you or treat you as appropriately as they should? Others don't respect you or treat you. We are humans and we're social creatures, and we want and we need to interact closely with each other and form good interpersonal connections. To interact closely with each other. In fact, in our physical and mental health, we can suffer if we don't have that. In our physical and mental health, and it can be a severe suffering if we don't have that. And what happens is it becomes feast or famine. So if we don't have that intimacy, if we don't have that closeness, then we want to grab it, and we might become even more accommodating. So getting on well with each other is a vital survival skill. So getting on well with each other, we all want to be liked, and our desire for the approval of others makes us, on the whole, cooperate for the approval of others and makes us feel more friendly towards each other. Cooperate. So far, so good, right? Feel more friendly towards each other. But in order to be social and sociable, but in order, it's not just about our connections. It's about status and control. And we need to have a sense of status and a sense of control just as much as we need that sense of connection. Just as much as we need. If you've noticed that people don't treat you with a sense of status, if you've noticed that people don't treat you with that means that you've lost a certain sense of intimacy with them. So it's interesting that we might want to accommodate them, and yet the more we accommodate them and the more we feel taken advantage of, the less they actually feel a sense of respect towards us. They're more apt to take advantage of us. Respect towards us. They're more apt to take advantage of us. We like to know where we stand in our social setup. We like to know feel where we stand that our position is acknowledged and honored. And feel that our position and we like to feel that we have some control over our lives and some free choice over what we do and how we feel in the relationships that we have. Some free choice over what we do. And we truly like to feel a sense of status that we have. And it seems strange to think of status in our relationships. And it seems strange to think of status in I'm someone who is married, and you would think that there's not a sense of status. I'm someone who but there actually is a very deep sense of status with both my husband and I. But there actually it means that I look at him with a level of respect and dignity. Look at him, and there's a status to that. Respect. I don't take advantage of him. He doesn't take advantage of me. He sees me with a certain level of status. So our relationship isn't just built on getting along and laughing and so our relationship isn't just things we have in common. It's also woven in that there's a level of status. We have in common. It's also and boundaries are a way to get that status. So I want you to focus on just breathing into that awareness that boundaries are an important part of your well-being, and it is important that you have a level of status. Getting the balance right between our needs for connection, status and control is not always so simple. Our need to be sociable and connect requires us to be pleasant to each other so that we all feel comfortable together. But being pleasant doesn't mean sacrificing.
So that we all feel comfortable together. But being pleasant doesn't
If
mean
we always give way to others and sacrifice for the sake of something we hope to get, it can result in either loss or an actual loss of control. Sometimes both. And it can feel very unsatisfactory. It can leave us feeling empty, like the relationship is going nowhere. And these relationships might be romantic or otherwise. Bottom line is, we need a level of status and engagement in that status. Engagement meaning we need to know by actions and words that the other person feels a level of sadness towards us. We need to know that the other person respects our boundaries. If you want to have a good relationship with other people, and you want to be appropriately respected, you have to make it clear to yourself and to others where you stand. They're not mind readers. And they might be someone who pushes boundaries. They're not mind readers. So you need to make it clear to them that you're not there to play a game with them with boundaries. That's their issue, not yours. In other words, you need to set these boundaries of what is and what is not acceptable to you.
In other words, you need to set these boundaries.
It is not necessarily to be totally inflexible about it. There's always room for generosity when you want to give it, but it should not be at sacrifice, or you should not have to go through extra tolerance. It should always be clear that when you do bend, it's voluntarily on your part. It's a gift. And make no mistake that boundaries are gifts.
It's a gift.
They're not punishments. And people think of boundaries as punishments. Because so many people have been hurt when they talk about boundaries. So it feels like a punishment to not let that person hurt you again. But a boundary is a gift that you give to someone. When I was first with my husband, and even now, as relationships transition and change, we have new boundaries that we might put up. They're not meant to punish each other. They're gifts. If he comes home and he has a bit of a headache or just feels exhausted, and he lets me know that, it's a gift that he's giving me. That awareness that maybe I would maybe turn the music off, turn it down, make him a cup of tea, turn it down. They're just little signs and clues that he's giving, he's expressing, that I can either ignore and take advantage of him, or ignore and disrespect him, thus lowering his status, or I can respect him and give him a level of dignity for how he's feeling in the moment. And that is where he is giving me the gift of a boundary, and I am accepting that gift of a boundary. And sometimes saying no to someone is a gift. If you don't feel like doing something, just saying no without excuse is fine. But a lot of times people have a hard time with saying no. And they have a hard time with boundaries. And so they might yes the person over and over and sacrifice, and then have a complete meltdown. And it turns into a big argument. Because the other person either knew all along and feels shame and guilt and blame and arrogance sometimes, or they had no idea. And it's all coming out of left field. Blindsided. Or they had no idea. But learning to say no, it's all coming out of left field. Even if you add a little disclaimer in the beginning, if you're just learning, is very important. So what you have to do is say, for instance, oh no, this isn't a good time for me. And then if there's a discussion on why it's not a good time for you, whatever, just say it's personal. And then if I'm sorry, it's something I want to just keep to myself right now. Just say it's personal. Oh, I'm sorry. It's something I don't think that tonight is a good night. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't think that tonight is a good night. I know you're calling me late, but I have some things already scheduled. But thank you so much. I know you're calling me late. Showing compassion when you're saying no is also very important. But sometimes you don't have to show the compassion. It's not your job
have to show the compassion.
Be the Dalai Lama
It's not your
to everyone
job
who is in your space.
be the Dalai
And
Lama
understand His Holiness the Dalai Lama also puts up very clear boundaries.
And understand His Holiness
Jesus
the Dalai
put
Lama
up very
also
clear
puts up
boundaries.
very clear boundaries.
Rabbis and priests
Jesus
traditionally put up some strong boundaries.
Rabbis
Mother
and
Teresa,
priests
Martin
put up
Luther
some
King,
strong
they had
boundaries.
strong boundaries. They were
Mother
very
Teresa,
compassionate,
Martin Luther King, they had
very
strong
wonderful
boundaries.
people,
They were very compassionate.
but they put up boundaries. They didn't put up
Very
boundaries as a
wonderful
punishment, but
But they
rather
put up boundaries.
as a gift
They didn't put up
for
boundaries
how
as a
people should be
punishment,
treated
but rather as a gift
and how they should be treated.
for how people should be treated
And just because someone doesn't like
and how they should be
how
treated.
you want to be treated does not mean you have
And
to
just because someone
sacrifice
doesn't
that
like
to appease
how
them.
you want to be treated,
It just means
does
you're not right
mean
for
you
them.
have to sacrifice
And you're not
that
right for everyone,
to
and that's
appease
okay.
them. It just means you're not right for them.
Focusing
And you're not right
on
for
your
everyone,
breathing
and that's okay.
and understanding that boundaries are a gift that you're giving. Saying no is a way to express that gift,
that you're giving.
and those boundaries are
Saying
helping
no is a way to express
forge
that
your
gift.
status,
And
which
those
is a
boundaries
combination
are
of
helping
dignity and
forge
respect
your status,
that you deserve,
which is a
and
combination
you need
of
to
dignity
express
and
in order to
respect
not give
that
someone
you deserve,
a mixed
and
signal
you
of
need
who
to
you really
express
are
in order to
and
not
what you
give
desire
someone
out of life.
a mixed signal of who you really are
and what you desire out of life.